kind of bird?
Magpie, Hugh answered. Ginty chuckled. You're right, sir. He wouldn't have liked it. Those claws can be pretty nasty, especially on an 8-year-old. Hugh glared at Ginty. He had no business interfering with stuff between Dad and him. Trevor laughed.
Watch your back, Ginty. Hugh isn't amused.
Aye, sir. As the warlord says, I am definitely on the young warrior's target list. Both of them laughed at him while Hugh clenched his jaw angrily. He knew Ginty meant to be nice. He just didn't like being treated like a kid. Dad's laugh trailed off, a serious expression coming over him. Uh-oh. Now for the bad news.
Hugh, I have to be at the Hall of Judgment later this week. I don't have a choice.
Hugh tried to keep his face impassive, as he'd seen his dad do often enough when he received bad news, but he couldn't. A frown dragged the edges of his mouth down. Dad, we're going fishing.
I know, Hugh, but I can't avoid this. It's important to the Emperor, and, truthfully, to me too. Sector Lord Quadros is being judged, and Emperor Cyrus needs my support.
Hugh felt mutinous. He never got what he wanted. Trevor knelt down in front of him, gripping Hugh's arms.
That's what duty requires sometimes.
Hugh could feel hot tears coming. Dad had promised. Why did duty always get in the way? Why couldn't he just be his dad? Trevor hugged him, surprising Hugh completely. Dad hardly ever did that, either. Hugs were always Mom's job. Hugh struggled to fight back the tears that always came when he thought of her. She hadn't wanted to leave, hadn't wanted to die, but the doctors couldn't do anything. Hugh's father continued to speak, and Hugh pushed away his sadness to listen to him.
But I've decided to let you go fishing off-planet anyway. Doña Carlotta will take you to Deft.
To Ginty he added with a sigh,
Trout and some unbelievable local varieties we'll miss out on.
Hugh knew Doña Carlotta liked him, but he wanted to be with Dad. Hugh clutched at his father. But I want you to go with me. You promised.
I know,
Trevor whispered into his boy's hair.
I know. We'll go another time. If things go well, I may even get to meet you on Deft.
You bet that wouldn't happen, but he could hope. Besides, he could tell Dad wanted to be with him. He never lied, to him or anyone else. Ever. But it seemed like Dad never had time anymore. Always too busy because of his stupid job, so he would pretend to make Dad feel better about missing the fishing. Okay, Dad. Trevor let him go before standing.
Now, don't you have a fleet to launch, mister?
Aye, sir, Hugh promptly responded, doing his best to stand at attention.
Then you'd better be about it before the enemy destroys it on the ground.
Aye, sir, Hugh yelled happily before banging out the back door. Deft, 1805, local, 1005 BBMT, 1 May, 3463. 4 days and more than 200 light years later, Hugh sat in a canvas camp stool and stared into the fire, tired but comfortable, even with the thin wind soughing through the trees. Wrapped in a huge blanket, with the remains of the trout he had caught hours earlier on a plate beside him, he felt warm and drowsy. Though only a fair cook, Sergeant Jake Daniels had done well with the fish. Some of the other Marines were much better cooks, but it had been Daniels' turn. Across the fire, Doña Carlota Gonzalez y Rodriguez del Castillo leaned back in her camp chair. The firelight gave an interesting tinge to her russet hair. Hugh thought she must need the fancy chair, given her advanced age. She must be almost 50. Hugh wished he could have brought some of his friends, but they were all gone, off having fun with their families. Most of the day he'd played scout in the woods, trying to sneak up on the Marines, or made up armies of bark and twigs that fought each other. Attacking himself had not been as much fun as if he had had someone else to play with, but he had managed. He always won, of course, but it hadn't seemed like a challenge. Even so, he had enjoyed himself. Now he just wanted to cozy down into his blanket and sleep. Mitchell, one of Doña Carlotta's servants, suddenly approached her. Ma'am, emergency message from Beacon. As Doña Carlotta took the computer pad, Hugh looked over, mildly interested. Doña Carlotta had insisted she didn't want any messages that weren't life and death, but she opened this one. Hugh watched Doña Carlotta's face drain of color as she read the message.